What is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of Emphasis on Sports. I'm your host, Damon Anthony. Hey, look, we're getting back into the groove. We're getting back into things. I'm now in SEC country, so pro sports isn't as big of a thing where I live, but that's cool. I do mess with college sports. I do like to talk trash. When you talk about the SEC, you have a lot of entitled fans, huge egos. Well, I'm here to crush some of that. The past is the past. What are you doing now? What have you done the last couple of years? Don't come at me with stats from the 80s, back in the day. Stop it. All right. So this is really going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to the future of sports as far as where I live. Coming from the Cleveland area, huge professional area. Now it's a lot of college. Our closest professional team is in New Orleans. So it's just going to be a little different thing, a little different texture. But that being said, like, let's talk sports. Let's talk sports. We know right now we're in the preseason NFL. In about 2 weeks, we're going to have some college football. I think that's like their week 0 or something like that. NBA schedule just dropped. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but we've seen some pretty decent moves. Some teams really changed. I think next year in the NBA, it's going to be a really good fan watch. I'll say that. There's going to be some highly competitive games, some really highly competitive teams. I think when the playoffs rolls around, it's going to be outstanding. The West is stacked. The East, this is with some of the key players in the East being out, this is actually the time for some of the other teams to step up and get in there and to establish themselves. Because when those players comes back, those teams are going to be back good. And we may have a stacked East. When we talk about just the East in general, right now, when you're looking at the major injuries, the Celtics won championship the year before last, and the Pacers lost in the finals. Both of them lost their top guys, their leaders, right? So we know those teams are going to regress a little bit. We know that. Those are two teams that I'm not sure if they make the playoffs or not. If they do, it may be more in the play-in area. But when you look at the rest of the East, I think you're going to have Cleveland, New York sitting 1-2, however that happens to go. But you have teams like Orlando, who's been on the bottom half of the playoff bracket. You have Atlanta, who hasn't even been in the playoff bracket. Those are two teams really to watch. The Raptors team, it's a real young team, which is true, very young team, but it's a team to watch. With some of these higher level teams being down a little bit this year, they could find some footing. And you never know, the Raptors could sneak in at 7, 8, maybe be at the top of the play-in, which would be great for them. You also have to watch out and worry about the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, I get it. Trust the process. Yes, I get it. Embiid always hurt. PG gets hurt often. But one thing you have to realize is if these guys can come back healthy, or even if they can come back healthy enough, like let's just say with Embiid, I hate that they're going to put him on a restriction, even though I can understand it. And the guy's been out. So you definitely want to make sure he's okay. He gets big paychecks, and you need him in order for the 76ers to climb that proverbial ladder. Right. So even if you have him kind of halving it through most of the season, if the Sixers can make the playoffs and Embiid's healthy, and Paul George is healthy with Maxey out there, with their young boy that's coming back, the rookie that got hurt last year, loves to make the TikToks, Philly could be a damn good team that can challenge anybody in the East. So that's at least 4 teams right there that I believe are going to make a leap. Not a huge leap. I'm not counting any of them to go to the finals or anything like that. But for them, all of those teams, I think they're going to go further than they have the last couple of years, which is huge for the East. But that also tells you that the East is down a little bit. When you look at the West, you're going to look at, I don't know, maybe 6 teams that have those aspirations. Really could happen. I mean, you're going to look at the Thunder. People are gonna hate to say it, hate to hear it, but the Lakers. You're going to look at Denver. You're going to look at a little bit of Dallas, a little bit of Minnesota. You also have Houston, which is going to be a hell of a team. And those are 6 right there. But then a little fringy outside of that 6, you still got the Warriors. I mean, you still got Memphis and Ja. They could eke into the playoffs and make some noise. They really could. I want to see what Phoenix is going to be now that Beal is gone, now that KD's gone. The Clippers, I didn't mention the Clippers. So now really you got seven. You got seven teams in there that I really think can be in the playoffs. Let's see if I run those down again. And we're talking about 7 teams. We're talking about the Thunder, the Lakers, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Rockets. That's seven. That's seven right there. That's tough money in the West. Versus in the East, if I'm going to sit here, I'd probably say you got two teams really that can make it to the finals. And then we'll see whatever else is going to happen. What this also means is we're going to see some really good series. We'll probably see some really long series. And by the time whoever wins the West gets to the finals, they're probably going to be beat up. I can imagine they're going to be beat. So like I said before, schedule came out. Love a good schedule drop, whether it's NBA, whether it's NFL. I actually really like the NHL one too. I do a lot of traveling. I like to watch sports games when I'm in other cities. So for me, this actually helps pick out where to go. And it helps to look at the travel planning, right? The wife is going to plan some things. Give me at least one sports game. I ask for at least 4 hours when we're on a trip. Four. That's all I need. But looking at the NBA schedule, obviously always the big thing to note is the Christmas Day schedule. So up until last year, the NBA ran Christmas. We know the NFL is edging their way in there. Good for them. Nothing wrong with that. People like myself who grew up watching basketball on Christmas, I'm still going to do that. I may keep a little bit of an eye on the NFL depending on the game, but it's a tradition to me to wake up, open gifts, or watch people open gifts, eat, start drinking, watch basketball. Been that way my adult life. Pre-adult, no drinking. We're just watching basketball. Yeah, no. If you know, you know. But looking at the Christmas schedule, game number one on that day is going to be Cleveland and New York. I think that's going to be a dynamite game. I actually think that game probably should have been pushed back a little later. It's the only Eastern Conference game, but you're looking at more than likely the top two teams in the East. So I think that one, if they would have moved that one to maybe the 4 o'clock game or something like that, that's huge for everybody to watch. But the thing about Eastern time zone is this is a game that's going to play at 9 o'clock in LA. But if you make this the 5 o'clock game or even the 2:30 game, everyone's going to be a little more into it, right? After Cleveland, New York, you're going to have San Antonio and Oklahoma City. It's going to be a real good game, I believe, to watch. Yes, we know Oklahoma City is coming off a championship. We know what them cats are. We know they have a hell of a team. But with San Antonio, is Wemby going to be healthy? We've seen what he's been doing in the offseason. I mean, the guy's been over with Monks. He's been seemingly training with Kevin Garnett, which will always be great. So to see some love from a young Spur to Kevin Garnett shows the growth of KG. But then also on the Spurs, you got Castle, you got Foxy, you have a really young and good nucleus. You got Harper fresh out of the draft. They could be a really tough team. I believe by Christmas, we're not really going to know what they're going to be yet, but they could work their way to being solid. Are they going to be dominant this year? No, but they're going to be a tough team to play. And if they can sneak into the playoffs, they're going to be a real tough out, right? Game 3 on Christmas, you're going to have Dallas Mavericks versus Golden State Warriors. Now, this one, of course, Dallas, Golden State, there's some history there. I am a Mavericks fan. I still have beef with the We Believe Warriors way back in Oven. Yes, I remember that. I was not happy at all. Dirk got his MVP on the couch, but this has been a pretty decent rivalry series, however you want to call it, for plenty of years. Now with this one, you got Steph, who's at the end of getting close to the end of his career. You got Draymond, and then we know we got Klay Thompson on the Mavericks. Those are guys that won 4 rings together. There will always be linked. But I think this is going to be a pretty decent game. But the fact that Kyrie's out, I think this should have been the very first game of the day or the very last game of the day. But it'll still be a good one, a fun one to watch. Our fourth game of the day is going to be the Houston Rockets at the Los Angeles Lakers. This one star-studded a bit. Whenever you can get KD and LeBron on the floor at the same time, it's always magic. But now you add in Luka, you add in Austin Reeves, You add in Seguin, you add in the Thompson twin, you add in Ime Udoka, who we've seen him and LeBron have some little on the court. Once you add all of that together, it's going to be a rock'em sock'em, really good game, I believe. I think this is a game that for both of these teams is really, really a tone setter for the rest of the season. Remember, season starts in October, beginning of November. A lot of teams, a lot of players are finding their footing through the first month and a half, 2 months. By the time you get to Christmas, be strapped up and ready to go. And by the time you get to MLK Day, you better be gone, right? Now, the last game on Christmas is going to be Minnesota Timberwolves at the Denver Nuggets. That's going to be a doozy. I'm in, I'm up, I'm in. I have to have that. The Nuggets did a lot to retool their team, add some players. So they actually made themselves a little better. Minnesota is right now following the old classic formula where you have to build yourself. You get first rank, then you get second rank, then you get to the conference finals, then you get to the finals. This is the year that Minnesota should get to the finals based on how a lot of teams have been. So watching this game is going to be great. We know that these teams, they respect each other, but they see each other in the playoffs. So this is always going to be a good matchup. When you can get Joker and AE, if Aaron Gordon's back healthy all the way, we know Nas Reed just got a real big bag, but it's Dillingham. Now, is this the year that he makes that leap? Is it? Jamal Murray. Can we get back to a consistent Jamal Murray? Not at every other game, every third game, Jamal Murray. Is it possible? Absolutely. But those are some really, really good, awesome matchups for Christmas. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, everybody go check out the rest of the schedules for your own individual teams. And I'm telling you, when schedules come out, that's when trips get made. That's when you know what's going on. I mean, hey, if we happen to be going to New York at some point while the NBA season's going, give me a Knick game. Maybe give me a net game. This is kind of how I roll. So I love schedule releases. Big time, right? All right, now moving on to the NFL. So I don't really do a ton of preseason talk. I'm not really going to talk about these games. We'll talk about who's playing, but the actual game itself, it's really hard to break down preseason games because everyone doesn't have the same interest. If you get what I'm saying, there's going to be some players that are locked in. You know that they're playing, they're starting week one. Then there's some guys that are trying to get the job. So when you're watching, you got to understand that everybody out there isn't of the same mindset. Not like in the regular season. The regular season, everybody has their job. Everyone's ready to go. Let's get it done. Playoffs, you have guys getting ready to try and get their job. And some guys practice, training camp, maybe play a series, a couple downs just to knock some dust off. And now I'm riding the pine. Let the fourth stringer try and get him a job. And I get that. I respect it. I like it. I'm just not going to sit here and waste a lot of time talking about it, right? So next week, I am going to do a breakdown of all the divisions. I'm going to give you my predictions for division winners, for award winners, for playoffs, Super Bowl winners. We're going to talk about all of that. And as I typically do, I'm going to write all that stuff down. I'm going to keep it handy. Boy, as the season goes, I'm going to tell you how wrong I am. I'm not worried about gloating and saying I was right. But sometimes you look and you see you were very wrong. Because I'll tell you what, last year, I had some faith in the Browns. I had some faith in the Jets. And I'm a 49er fan. None of that worked out for me. And you got to admit when you're wrong sometimes. So we'll talk about the NFL. Please like, subscribe if you're new, leave comments. Let's start conversation. Tell me sometimes what you want to talk about. What's the subject? What's the sport? Also realize and understand, I'm not talking about too much outside the lines. I really could care less. I don't care what these athletes do outside of the lines if it's not detrimental to society. But who they're dating, what they ate for dinner last night, what movie I don't care. Don't care at all. That's their business. I don't need to know. So I don't really care. I talk about sports. That's why it's an emphasis on sports. All right, now preseason football. Tonight, we got two games. We have Tennessee Titans. We have Atlanta Falcons. Sure, that'd be a decent one to take a look at. We know Cam Ward, Michael Penix, they should get a lot of burn. Penix is in his second year, and he didn't have all of last year as a starter. And we know Cam Ward, this is the beginning for him. So I may have another TV on, have that game on just to kind of peek at it here or there, but it's not going to be a game where I'm not sitting there cooking a big spread. I'm not really ready for this one like I would a lot of games, but it's the preseason, right? Second game of the night, second and only game of the night is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs at the Seattle Seahawks. Now, this one, I don't expect to see Mahomes, maybe a drive, maybe two. But with Seattle, we know that they have a young group of players that are going to have to get some burn. Now, we look at the rest of the weekend. Saturday, we've got a ton of games. You got the Dolphins at the Lions, got the Packers at the Colts, the Patriots at the Vikings, the Browns at the Eagles, the Panthers at the Texans, the Niners at the Raiders, the Ravens at the Cowboys, the Chargers at the Rams, the Jets at the Giants, the Buccaneers at the Steelers, and the Cardinals at the Denver Broncos. And then to round things off, Sunday, you're going to have Jacksonville Jags at the Saints, the Bills at the Bears, and then we do have our first Monday Night Football game of the year with the Bengals and the Washington Commanders. These are all actually pretty decent matchups especially for preseason. I always love the regional third games that a lot of times we get to see. And when I say that, I'm not talking about within division, because you look at the AFC North, you're going to have Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. They're all right there close to each other. So we don't need to see that in the preseason, because you're going to see that in the regular season. But when you look at San Francisco and the Raiders, now this used to be San Fran versus Oakland, right? But 49ers fans, Raider fans aren't necessarily best friends, right? Now then you look at the Rams and the Chargers, that's LA on LA. You look at the Jets and the Giants, New York, baby. I love to see those kind of matchups. Then one that really sticks out to me also, Carolina and Houston. Not that Carolina is a hell of a team, but Bryce Young, CJ Stroud should be a decent couple drives at best. But we will talk about those again on Monday. As I said in the last episode, I'm going to see y'all Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We may not be here forever every single time, but just want to stay tapped in. I want y'all to stay tapped in. I need to really dig back into sports. Had to take a couple months off of a lot of things, man, with the job change in environment, surgery, man. They cut me from here to here. It was crazy. Now I'm back. Now we could really chop it up about sports. All right. Because I'm really looking forward to this upcoming season in NFL. WNBA. WNBA is always going to be in my heart. I want everyone to understand this out there. I love to watch sports. Men, women, whoever. So as we get close to the WNBA playoffs and I start talking about them, please don't think that I started watching this last year. Please don't think that I only know who 5 players are. You understand what I'm saying? So that's something that we're going to talk about. I'm going to get a little bigger into hockey also. I have a wealth of friends that are huge into hockey that have kind of been on me about how much I talk about it. We also know baseball. We're getting close to that postseason push. Baseball is one of those things where for me, I don't really get fully invested until September, but the playoffs the last couple of years have been outstanding. Everything that Shohei Ohtani is doing, best player that I've seen all around, right? They say 5 tool players, best player I've ever seen. Best hitter I've ever seen, Barry Bonds. Tony Gwynn, close second, as far as I laid my eyes on, not in highlights or not hearing from somebody. But we'll continue to talk about all the sports that we can. In the meantime, in between time, keep rocking, keep rolling, and I will see you next time. Until I see you next time, I will holler.